So there's a salad with some pecans and beets, quinoa, and carrots. Nothing too fancy. I'm going to talk about Elsbeth Season 1 and The Man in the White Suit. So I won't take long, and then James is going to be talking about Ezra Pound again. Are you going to show
this difficult individual, Ezra Pound?
And I still haven't borrowed the book he told me to borrow from the library.
Cantos.
So
His
I am sorry
magnum
about that.
opus.
I keep forgetting. So anyway, I'm going to tell you about Elsbeth Season 1, which is
England,
excellent. No. And
you gotta be kidding me.
No. And it's kind of reminds me of Columbo, only it's a woman who she dresses in a kind of funny way.
Like
and there's another outfit she's wearing.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so, yeah, she's kind of fun. And
fun but not funky, I guess.
One thing about it, there seems to be a lot of gay couples in it, which, like, her son is gay apparently, and there's a lot of women that are dating each other and whatever.
How unrealistic is that?
I don't know. It just seems a little... But it is New York. I don't know. Maybe it's a bit different there. So, anyway, The Man in the White Suit, bottom of the stack. So bad. So bad. It was from 1951. Black and white. Not good at all. So, go ahead. Talk about Ezra Pound. You have lots of time.
That was one I didn't even finish. Only wanted to get that review in before it got cold. No, it's not going to get cold anytime soon. It's supposed to be cold here tomorrow. And in Calgary. Some of you folks out in TV land, but internet land, might even have heard of Calgary when I was a kid. That was so long ago, it seems like another millennium. It wasn't that long ago. It was about... I hit Calgary about 60 years ago, 2 generations ago. And it was about 400,000 people when we left, maybe 40 or something like that. Let's say 400,000. Now it's maybe over a million, over that. More than a million over that. Who knows? Anyway, it was too big then. Too big for its britches, for its rawhide britches. Now, unfortunately, it's even way more oversized for its britches. A lot of fat heads down there. But I was going to talk about maybe their glutei maximi, but I don't like to work below the belt, as it were. Sometimes I do. I consider it lapsing. Something like taste. Anyway, this book, To the Matter at Hand, however disgusting the matter is. So the epigraph on this whole work, this work by Eustace Mullins, it has a quote from Christian Herter, I was mentioning this yesterday in case you were watching or listening. Christian Herter, Under Secretary of State in 1958, so that would be in the Eisenhower administration in the United States. Eisenhower only had, that's January 2nd, so I actually had a couple more, 3 more years actually, bumbling incompetence. Now, incompetence is relative, like when a dictator is incompetent, usually there's lots of bloodshed and a variety of different things. Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini. Oh, this guy supported Mussolini, but according to the Eustace Mullins, Pound had no blood on his hands. Well, that's not for want of trying. He wanted to keep the United States out of World War II, but big trouble is Pound was supporting the Italians and during World War II, and he's responsible for all the bloodshed that Mussolini brought about, that he shed. that all the bloodshed that he spread around, like Mussolini invaded the Balkans, stuff like that. Pound was in Italy when Mussolini invaded Ethiopia, for example. I think that was 1935. This guy can go around saying that sort of stuff. You can say, for example, like Squeaky Fromm. She actually didn't even get the shot off. She just drew a pistol on Gerald Ford, that lame duck president. Almost as much of a lame duck as the guy who succeeded him, Jimmy Carter. I almost called him Jerry. How soon they forget? No, I don't forget Jimmy Carter. He's by far the worst Democratic president to serve during my lifetime, and my life goes back to the beginning, close to the beginning of the Eisenhower administration. Now, that having been said, every Democrat has been, even Jimmy Carter, that bumbling fool, has been better than every one of the presidents since my life started that served for the Republican Party. And unfortunately, generally not at all the American people, and didn't serve their country very well as a result. They served the Republican Party. They served the interests of the fat cats and rich people, the capitalists and stuff like that in the United States. Also people that, they, especially after Eisenhower, they kind of, Nixon appealed to the Southern vote and got enough to cheat his way to the presidency in his first election, so-called win. The margin of victory is about 500,000. I don't know. He definitely was cheating his way to a landslide win in 1972. My suspicion is he didn't have anything personally to do with Arthur Bremer, is that his name? The guy who tried to kill George Wallace, or at least incapacitate him. But one would have to be very, very dull to think that the backers, and I'm thinking specifically of the California and Nevada mob, didn't have something to do with that little thing being arranged, because Nixon almost lost the '68 election because there was a third candidate called George Wallace who won a substantial part of the vote, and especially from the southeast, they call it the South, but deep South, shall we say, and stuff like that. It was just very, very conveniently done, taking out Wallace as a campaigner, and I think he was confined to a wheelchair after that assassination attempt. But Squeaky Fromm, hopefully she's still in jail. You don't let someone like that out. And it doesn't have so much to do with wanting to assassinate a president, or attempting, but just attempting to assassinate anyone. I don't look kindly on people who want to do political murders and stuff like that. Eustace Mullins argues, Pound didn't have any effect on any people. The thing is, you got to make an example of folks like him, and he should have been tried for treason, convicted, and sentenced. Really, they don't have this kind of sentence, but I really think they should have it for treason to not any particular country, but to a country that's at least marginally democratic. And the United States is more than marginally democratic. It's got the foundations of the democracy have been eroded substantially by the Republican Party, and how they're paying for it by having Trump put in place by Putin. And massive cheating in 2016. We didn't need massive cheating in the actual polling in the ballot boxes, but the Russians have been, via review4, however you pronounce it or mispronounce it, and WikiLeaks and stuff like that, the Russians have very much compromised and control over Rupert Murdoch, who's a Russian agent. I'm the person, so far as I can tell, who figured that out. Rupert Murdoch would have been rescued by the Russian mob, and his debts to the Russian mob were inherited by Putin when Putin came to power in 2000 at the turn of the millennium. So, yeah, I think people who commit treason against democracy should be convicted. Once they're convicted of the treason, they should be sentenced to death, but with automatic commutation or whatever is commuting of the sentence to life imprisonment without parole. Oftentimes there's this argument, if you don't have the possibility for parole, how can you get good behavior out of convicts, people serving time? It's easy, you just, if they're not cooperating, you deny them a few privileges and stuff like that. And if it keeps on going on, you deny them more privileges. It's that simple. You don't give them basically the ultimate privilege to go out there and commit serious crime like that again. So they should have set an example, but they didn't. They weren't going to let him loose, but they didn't. The other thing I suspect is they didn't want a show trial where it's a show and tell trial with Ezra Pound on the stage, as it were, up in the witness box and so on and so forth, spouting out his ludicrous theories on this, that, and the other thing. But I think the main thing is they didn't want to convict him of treason. It's a death penalty for treason back then. And the Rosenbergs were wiped out. It's amazing how this guy says, like the FDR administration, the Truman administration was soft on communists. No, they were soft on this fascist here, okay? You get the Rosenbergs, they went to, I think it was the electric chair. I don't think this guy, by all that's right and good and proper, given the law and penalties under it, he should have been sent to the electric chair or hung or whatever, firing squad, whatever. Like I say, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in the death penalty, but it should, what they should have nowadays is automatic death penalty for conviction of treason against a democracy, and then, but it's automatically commuted. How much time? 15?
Yeah, about that.
Never. So, like this guy has a few transcripts from
I'm going to move this closer for you. Go ahead. Keep going.
A few transcripts from some of
there you go.
Ezra Pound's broadcasts on radio and stuff like that. And, there's not enough here.
He doesn't have anything for you. Come on.
Yeah, no food for you guys. Sorry.
Come on.
Maybe a little bit later, okay? The dogs are out here. Very much enthused about food. Elvis was a good little guy. You can see some pecans here. I don't know if they're good or bad for dogs. My suspicion is they could be not that good. Some nuts you got to watch out for. And with dogs, and I think it's almonds that are the big problem, but I just didn't want to take a chance, neither did Pauline. But he just held it in his mouth, and he let Pauline take it out of his mouth. And so I kind of rewarded him. Like Pauline had a whole lot more carrots pieces here before we came out here. But I don't like messing around with the arrangement on the various arrangements that she puts on my plate. But this time I did, because I wanted to reward Elvis for being so good. Some dogs, if you go fishing for food held in their jaws, well, they'll give up food and latch their jaws onto the person doing the fishing. Let's just see. Oh, they've got a few transcripts here of Ezra Pound's broadcasts. So the funny thing is, they these are broadcasts. You see, like broadcasts. The transcripts start. Transcriptions rather start here. You can tell I've been in academia too long. Not that I'm consider myself a member of academia. More and more I've turned against academia. I realize that it's basically taken over the church in our secular societies, our Western society, the role of the church, and the role increasingly has been in science and in the antisocial pseudosciences, otherwise known as social sciences. They've taken over and they are imposing their various views of the world. It's kind of like a secular faith or belief system, faith system and stuff like that. And it's the big trouble is, it's, for example, physics theory, theoretical physics has become more and more hardened. It was kind of in flux starting around the late 19th century, but they, it's just okay. Here we go. So we've got raps from Ezra Pound. Now, like if you can make almost anyone, like Mussolini made trains run on time, or variously, it's Hitler made the trains run on time. Hitler was a pisco-vegetarian. He didn't like eating meat. Of course, he was a good guy with animals, I guess. You see, he had a nice, he was nice to his dog, Blondie, Blondi, I think, not with an E on it, Blondie, and things like that. But he was an absolute brute with people. Well, Eustace Mullins mentioned Mussolini was he liked animals and stuff like that. Or Ezra Pound liked animals, I should say. Maybe Mussolini did too. I don't care. When we look at people, we don't take little samples of their behavior and take that as an indication of the way they are all the time in every situation with everyone. It's just that simple. So I mentioned, this guy says no blood on this guy's hands. He was peaceful, peace-loving, but is he about the only person in the 20th century to challenge a person to and this was in England, where, according to this book, that was tantamount to planning murder. But that was probably not the first time Ezra Pound got away with murder, attempted murder, or something like that, plotting murder, and he kept on getting away with stuff and getting away with stuff. So the transcripts included here, transcriptions. Go from page 205 to 233. So roughly 30 pages. And that's not enough to exculpate this difficult individual. That's not enough. 30 pages, and this book is how long? Including footnotes, end matter, front matter, it's almost 400 pages. 400 pages, 30 pages, and the transcriptions are the major, they were transcriptions of radio broadcasts intended for citizens of the United States, maybe of other democracies as well. And 30 pages is not enough to exculpate the guy. So Ezra Pound speaking. That's how he starts. Or Pound here. What an idiot. like people were waiting, anticipating. But you're going to get the, like, put on your seat belts, put on your racing helmet, and maybe even put in a mouth guard when Canto stuff is on. If you like imagism, if you like free verse, vers libre, or if you think Ezra Pound's a right-on dude or whatever, because you're going to look at all of this stuff. I'm going to look at the technique. It's going to be exposed to you. You're going to see how pallid and thin and feeble the cantos were in terms of artistic creation, and you're also going to find out, if you don't realize it already, and I'm afraid a substantial number of you don't, that his thought was stunningly feeble, pallid, and thin. His thought on politics and sociology and economics, stuff like that. From what I can tell, a lot of it was cribbed from Major Douglas, called Captain Douglas in this book, but also cribbed from Confucius. Like eventually somewhere along the line, dude ran across a guy called Fenollosa, who was doing some work, I think, on Confucius, maybe the Analects or something like that, maybe a few other things. Fenollosa died young. And I think Pound ended up with Fenollosa's estate, part of his estate, and he spent much of the rest of his days, Pound did, when he wasn't setting himself up as some huge expert on politics and economics, like the world's leading expert on these various fields. And am I being hypocritical? Because there's a lot of things I've researched, but like I put some sweat equity. This guy, just, I get the feeling he's almost like the ultimate dilettante. How's that for an Italian kind of word? So just dibbling and dabbling in things. Brooke Adams, some guy, like he had Eustace Mullins looking through all of Brooke Adams' works. Why waste your time? No, like most thinkers, so-called thinkers, real thinkers actually don't have that much time to be doing I like the amens, AMEN, they do research on brain functioning and stuff like that. But I kind of like Susan Powter's message, stop the insanity and stuff like that. But folks like that, they keep on putting out the same thought again and again and again. Usually their books are too long. It's the same thought over and over again and again and again. And that's the way, sadly, it is for academics. It shouldn't be publish or perish. It should be come up with new ideas. They don't necessarily have to be right or totally right or anything like that, but come up with something new. Don't be rehashing the same thing over and over and over again and getting promoted or expecting to get promoted as a result. How much time?
Well, 5 minutes, but it's pretty dark.
Yeah, we'll call it quits.
Okay.
So